Awake my heart. Comforting contrast. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. 2 Corinthians 4:17. This verse draws a quadruple contrast between present tribulations and future compensations, between troubles here and triumphs hereafter. You and I know not what a day may bring forth, and we are very fragile creatures. Sooner than we think, perhaps, heavy weather may be upon us. Some of us maybe are already struggling with the billows. It is well for us to take a steady look at 2 Corinthians 4:17. First view, it in its context, as the second member in a series of striking contrasts. In verse 16 there is a contrast between the outward and the inward. Though our outward man perish, yet our inward man is renewed day by day. In verse 17, there is a contrast between the present and the future. Our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. In verse 18, there is a contrast between the seen and the unseen. We look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. And for the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. Next, chapter 5:1. There is a contrast between the earthly and the heavenly. In chapter 5:1, there is a contrast between the earthly and the heavenly. If our earthly tent house be dissolved, we have a building of God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. Next, in verse 4, there is a contrast between the mortal and the immortal. We that are in this tent house groan, being burdened, not that we would be unclothed, but clothed upon, that mortality might be swallowed up of life. Finally, in verses 6 through 8, there is a contrast between being in the body and out of the body. Whilst we are at home in the body, we are absent from the Lord. We are willing rather to be absent from the body and to present with the Lord. Dear Christian, you and I should live with these contrasts ever before our minds. They help us to put a true evaluation on things. They set off the merely outward and present and seen and earthly and moral bodily excuse me, bodily against the spiritual and the ultimate and the unseen and the heavenly and the immortal and the being at home with the Lord. But look now, in particular at chapter 4:17, for our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. Our present troubles are here described comparatively in fourfold aspect. 1. As to their nature, they are affliction. 2. As to their weight, they are light. 3. As to their duration, they are but for a moment. 4. As to their utility, they work for us eternal glory sometimes. Excuse me. Let me do that again. Say that one again. 4. As to their utility, they work for us eternal glory sometimes when we are undergoing seemingly interminable adversity. The cry is wrung from us, how long, O Lord? Let suffering, Paul, show us that the victory of faith is to see the transient present against the everlasting glory which is yet to be. Yes, let suffering, Paul, show us Theory is one thing, demonstration is another. Thank you, thank you. Okay. Mm. Mm. Oh gosh. Alright, thank you. Where was I? Mm-hmm. Paul not only preaches, he practices and proves to us how he endured. Here was a man who, although still amid the physical, was living in the spiritual, although still amid the temporal, was living in the eternal, although still amid the earthly, was living in the heavenly. He was not waiting to shout, "Glory! Glory!" then, despite all setbacks. He was saying it now.